Benvenuto.
Ciao, ciao.
Sono tuoi per 21 minuti.
Okay, let me start off by saying I'm standing up here after a great presentation and a film. I can barely row a canoe, so I'm very impressed. But I'm so happy to be here and to be a part of this event. I think you'll see in a few minutes as to why I am proud to be here and participating with everybody. But what I'd like to do is talk a bit about what I do and why I do it. So what I like to do normally is talk to audiences, but I can't stand to be behind a microphone. So I'm warning you all in advance that what I'm going to do is talk to all of you, but I'm going to be with you, okay? And the reason I'm going to do that is because I want to leave at least 3 or 4 minutes at the end of my talk to ask you questions or have you ask me questions. So that's a warning, which means in effect I'm going to go into the audience and I'm going to pick out some people randomly to ask me questions. So think about some questions, okay? But I'd like to start off with like a little bit about who I am and why I'm interested in what has been talked about as the green economy. And I say that because I think it's very important for you to realize where I'm coming from. So let's start off with a very interesting issue. And that is, if you'll notice how many degrees I have. I have 3 master's degrees in 3 different fields and a PhD in yet another field. Now that usually says, oh, this guy must live in some ivory tower, isolated somewhere, and never comes out to look at the real world. Wrong. I got those different degrees because I didn't like the fields I was studying. And I wanted to change and go into another field. So I guess this side of the room agrees with that idea. The point is that I got the 3 master's degrees at 3 different universities, earned them doing all the qualifications, and I realized the next thing I wanted to do is go to law school. So I decided that since I grew up on the East Coast of the United States in a state called Connecticut, my family is from Boston, Massachusetts, which I'll come back to in a few minutes, that I wanted to go west. So going west meant to go all the way across the United States, and in those days, in particular, I wanted to go to San Francisco. And I thought actually the song introducing me was going to be kind of along those lines, you know, like remember San Francisco. Anyway, but the point I wanted to make to everybody is that I stopped in the city of Chicago in August 1968. Is there anyone old enough in this audience to know what happened in Chicago in August 1968? Okay, the Democratic Convention was being held for President of the United States, and the police rioted. Did you hear what I said? Not the students protesting, but the police rioted. And I decided that this was time for an education. And I'll never forget getting one of my master's degrees from a university whose classroom I was sitting in overlooked what is called Grant Park. It's on the Lake Michigan. And in Grant Park, there were tens of thousands of people my age protesting the democratic selection process for President of the United States. And what I realized immediately was, wait a minute, there's something really wrong. But it wasn't just me. The professor said, your real education is outside. Class dismissed.